Alright everyone, it's time for Occult Literature, video number 272, The Idea of God in Early Religions. Link in the description of my edition of this work on Amazon. It's 116 pages, so it's an intermediate length read. Second and third links are to my books blogs. You can get plenty of other academic works actually on those, especially if you're interested in sort of the religious history component. This work, though, has two main components. The first is religious history. The differentiation between the personal daimon or fetish and the larger communal god, the true deity of then modern religions, as a Christian would put it typically in the time period. They were very much evolutionists when it came to this basic thing. That fits almost in with cultural evolution. The development of polytheism, some of these different cultures sort of looking at their various practices, how they fall into that interplay. That's one part. The other part is linguistic in nature. Actually, despite the fact that I believe linguistic anthropology as an overarching system didn't even exist at the point that this was being written, it is still very much, it falls partially under that umbrella. Because one of the central premises here is that you need to be able to express an idea for that idea to have any intrinsic value, to lead to any cultural progress, quote unquote, within a religious or other context. So you can't capitalize upon, expand upon, understand, or utilize an idea unless you're capable of verbally expressing it. So if you have a culture that's got, no language system, they communicate only through grunts and gestures a million years ago, the evolution of a religious system is not going to be the same as in a culture that has a fully modern alphabetic system, words and word structure and grammar in the sense that a modern society would have it in one of the main modern forms. There will be a big difference in the understanding of the role of the god, the role of the personal fetish, if it's allowed at all. Taboos are discussed here, and also the suppression of the personal deity, specifically by more organized societies, which really, if they have a communal god, that communal god acts on behalf of the whole, or on behalf of you could term it, an official doctrine, whereas the personal demon is averse to that necessarily. The individual is attempting to elevate themselves above the communal, less in an organized fashion, more in a selfish fashion, and this work explores that to some degree of depth. Many cultures are noted, many of which I would have trouble bothering to pronounce. I think it mentioned the Yanomami actually at one brief point, which is funny. I remember that from like the AP World History or whatever it was back in high school. Anyway, it is a very good work, and Jevons, some of his works are still in circulation today. A lot of it's now considered outdated, although I believe more in this supposedly archaic concept of the structure and promulgation of religion. I happen to agree with writers a century ago more often than modern writers on some of these things because they hadn't yet swallowed cultural Marxism. But some of his works are still in print. So I believe this is actually one of them to some extent as well. One of his more main popular works. It's well written. At times it's a little bit flowery in its language. It's more of a strictly academic work, so it's more of a high level of language refining as opposed to something that was meant for travelers' literature around the same time for a lay audience of the burgeoning middle class or some farmer or something. You'll notice that the language structure of documents in this period, there's a huge difference between the two. The differences have definitely narrowed over the last century. So again, link in the description to my edition of this work on Amazon. Second and third links are to my books blogs. The academic headers where this goes, I think there's like 40 works in there, so peruse at your leisure. You'll find plenty of good shit available there. That's about all. Peace out.